Get that immediate. Yeah. I didn't have to fumble with it because of this wonderful invention called keyboard shortcuts.
Right. Yeah.
So it takes me long enough. I finally learned. Yeah. When I was in the military, there was a joke about Marines. I said, you know why we never give the Marines a break? Never give them a vacation. Yeah, never let them go.
What's
Because
that?
it's too much trouble training them all over again when they come back. So yeah,
You like that?
they just don't
Yeah.
get vacations, right? It's too much
Yeah.
work to train them again.
Yeah.
All right. How is everyone doing?
I'm okay. My cough is gone now.
Okay.
Yeah, I had a cough last week.
Yeah.
You look like a camel, didn't you?
Yeah.
At the start of meeting.
Last Sunday's meeting. Yeah.
Monday's meeting?
Sunday.
Was it Sundays?
Sunday.
Yeah.
Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I'm all right. You're not too good, are you?
No. I don't like doctors.
Yeah, I know. They're well, there's a reason why they require patience, right? They work in a practice and they require patience.
Yeah.
Kind of says a lot about the medical profession, right? Yeah.
I thought you were going to say something like the reason why they're called patients is because the patient has to be patient for them to get it right.
Yeah, definitely. That's what I mean. Yeah. They have a practice because they're practicing on people that are very patient. So anyway, right. Do I need to make the disclaimer again, right? For future doctors watching this.
Yeah.
I'm not.
I hope that you're better than the current ones.
All right, there you go.
Yeah, that's my view. Yeah.
So listen, today's just friendly, okay? There's not a huge running agenda for today, and the reason why is because sometimes when you're about to leap into something, especially as intense as what we're about to get into, you need a bit of a transition time. You know, like if you're driving a car, especially a manual, yeah. Can anyone drive manual vehicle anymore? Yeah.
Yes, you can, but you don't choose to.
Right. Yeah. Sam, do you know what a manual is? They don't.
I can't drive them because
right.
of bad legs.
Yeah. So back, when in ancient times, ancient Earth, Mark and I are familiar with. Yeah. When learning to drive a car, you had 3 pedals, not 2, and you had a shifter either on the column or on the floor somewhere, and you had to go from first to second to third to fourth, reverse and whatnot, manually. That's why they call it a manual. And the way that it works is you're pushing the gas, okay, and then you get to the point where the engine is revving too high, and so you've got to go to second gear. And then you take your foot off the gas and you push the clutch and you pull the lever down into second gear, and then you kind of do this again. Yeah. And then it's in second gear and you do the same kind of release. And what happens is in the clutch, there's a pressure plate. And when you're pushing the clutch in, you release that so that one keeps spinning. That way you're not just, jamming from one gear into the next. So some days when we do this kind of work, we need a clutch time, right? Where things keep spinning, but you take the pressure off a little bit and allow a smoother level of engagement, if you will, for what comes next. So the obvious question is, what comes next? Yeah. So are you all with me so far, right? It's just we'll have an easy day, okay? Yeah. Nice and easy. Not a lot of charts to memorize. In fact, probably none. But let me tell you about what comes next. Over the next 7 weeks, we're going to be doing a connective work with each of the planetary influences, beginning with Saturn. Okay. Now, the reason why we're doing that is because it is absolutely essential to this work that you begin to know what these presences are, what these entities are, okay, that attend things like Saturn and Venus and Mercury and Mars and Jupiter and the moon. In ancient times, it was kind of looked at as, what you can see. All right. So they couldn't see beyond Saturn. So it ended there, but they could see the moon. And actually, a lot of astronomers think that the moon qualifies as a planet if it wasn't captured by the Earth. All right. So the ancients said, yeah, it's also a planet, even though it's orbiting this. It's like there's a difference, right? Isn't there between? Well, okay. Let me put it this way. Because you can connect to the moon, for example, the same way that you can connect to Mars, that's what qualifies it as a planet. It's a baby planet, but you can still connect to it in the same manner. It has an intelligence about it that's on par with the other planets. You understand? If you try to connect with Io, for example, what you really get is flavoring of Jupiter. You don't get, yeah, you don't get Io as it is. It's one of the moons. Okay. But when you connect to Luna, the moon, then you get something distinct from the planet. So that's kind of my criteria, if you follow. What's your question there, Mark?
No, I was expecting you to say that when you connect to the moon, you're going to get a bit of Earth influence. But with what you're saying about it, it's his own distinct thing. Well, not in those words, but
look at it this way, Mark. I mean, obviously you have children, right? One of them sitting next to you there. By about 6 to 8 months after a child is born, you can look at it, and sometimes sooner, but you can look in its eyes and you can actually recognize the divinity that's within that, right? There's a suckling period where it's just very much kind of still in the womb, even when it's out. Yeah. That it's very much the mother. But then it starts, fiddling with things, and it starts looking at its fingers and grabbing noses and, trying to pull your face, by the ears so it can bite your nose. But you look into, you know what I mean, right? You look into that entity's eyes and you see the divinity of it. You no longer say, this is mom, this is dad. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is Sam, for example. And it happens. That's kind of what it's like with the moon. Okay.
Yeah.
Luna.
Yeah.
That's what it's like. That's what it's like. Now, when I say connect to, what I really mean is we are going to be doing some serious work in this arena. It's no longer going to be theoretical. All right. You are going to be able to evoke and preferably not invoke. Although if you choose that path, we can talk about it. But you'll be able to evoke a Saturnian, a Martian, a Venusian, a Mercurian presence in your environment, in you. Moreover, you'll be able to access the intelligence of those frequencies. All right. So we're going to actually work. We're going to do some practical things coming up over the next 7 weeks. Sound good?
Yep.
All right. Who can name the planets in order?
Me, Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto.
Yeah, I agree with you there, because same thing. If you connect to Pluto, it's got a planetary frequency. But yeah.
Yeah,
right.
The International Union of Astronomy. Yeah, that decision.
Well, they're in a different work than us.
Yeah.
They're in a different work than us.
Yeah.
Different line of business. They're categorizing, we're connecting to. Big difference.
Piers, you say that we can evoke a planetary presence
Yes.
into ourselves and also into our environment. What does it mean to do that in the environment? Is like it will affect other people or other life around us, or?
Yeah. Absolutely, it will.
Mm.
The idea behind this comes from this aspect that when, we talk about things like astrology, for example, okay, but there is, um, I would suggest that there's very little understanding in the world about what astrology is actually talking about from the standpoint of soul composition, one's soul composition. In other words, the ingredients that go into the soul. As a person is arriving on this planet, they go through 7 frequencies, okay, that end up tinging and creating tinctures, right? How's the tincture experiment going? But it tincturizes that individuality for a person. And so this is the idea of the kind of the fundamental aspect um, to astrology when dealing with planetary influences. Now, you can take the um, what has been added into Christianity regarding it as the 7 deadly sins. Have you heard of that thing called the 7 deadly sins? Have you heard of such a thing? Yeah. Anyone know what they are?
Not top of my head.
All right, it's okay. The point is that, like, for example, when you pass through the planet Saturn on your way in, you pick up a couple of ingredients. One of those ingredients, if you're not careful, or nah, it's not even about you. One of those ingredients can turn into covetousness, for example. You see, if it's not something that's then refined as you come to the planet. And so that's a personal development task. If you look at yourself and you say, I tend to covet things, or which would be Saturn. I tend to be prideful, which would be Jupiter. Yeah, those sorts of things. I tend to be overly angry, Martian. Yeah, we get flavored, we get influenced. Lust, right? The negative side of Venus would be lust. Mhm. Curiously enough, gluttony goes with Mercury. Why is that? Do you know what gluttony is? This is very important, especially to the Emonites among us, Eman people among us. Yeah, right. Because what's Mercury? I love this. We have so much work to do. It's great.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
great, right? God, love it. Yeah. I'm sorry you didn't get this kind of education, but you're going to now. All right. Mercury has to do with the mentality a lot of times. Yes, has to do with that kind of Jehudi, which became Thoth, which became Hermes, which became Mercury, right? That has to do with like the sciences, things of an intellectual nature, language, mathematics, astronomy, geometry. All of these sorts of things come from that Mercurian realm. So why in the world would gluttony be attributed to that as one of the deadly sins, for example? By the way, moon is envy. Another kind of ponder. Sun is laziness, sloth. Yeah. Think about Mercury for a minute.
Yeah.
What would that have to do with gluttony?
I can't think.
Well, listen. There's physical, there's emotional, and there's mental. Because its house is in the mentality, then what it's really actually talking about is mental gluttony. You see, now, what would that be? That would be stuffing yourself with food without ever digesting it mentally. You see, without ever taking the time to digest the things that you're learning. That is overeating on that level. It's stuffing yourself, right? And I think it probably was best exemplified in Greek philosophy, which is probably why it got attributed to that. Philosophy is largely become an academic sport of how many things can you memorize, learn, regurgitate without ever actually digesting.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It's interesting to me
It is. Yeah.
that the planet, she helps us with physical food. And if we eat normally, she takes care of the digestion. If we eat abnormally, then we get indigestion from it.
Hmm.
Emotionally, it's a little bit different. Our complex can handle, generally speaking, emotional influences that come our way. We digest them, we process them. Yeah. But when it comes to the mentality, it's really up to you. She only needs impressions, which means that you can literally be a non-thinker, someone who doesn't consider anything in life, and you'll still function mentally, right? You'll still function on behalf of the planet, but digesting things, you see, that takes effort. It's an actual process that you go through. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
for sure. Right. So, and I guess I can say that this is the reason for this. We're taking the clutch off, right? Pushing the clutch pedal in on this one because we need that time. Need that time to be able to digest things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. Right. By the way, I didn't start with questions. Were there questions? NZ, first of all, you did ask a question. So did that kind of answer it? I can say very succinctly, if you like, that yes, if you are working into a particular influence, it's going to have an effect on yourself, on people around you, on what sorts of things you attract, to your life. And I suppose it's safe to say that this is the fundamental aspect of something that would be called magic, although that's such a loaded term in our society these days.
Mm.
But yeah, a natural magic, right? Natural planetary magic, if you will. Think about it from the aspect of something like Saturn. It's a very complex set of frequencies that go with it. Saturn has to do with time, has to do with the nature of life and death itself, has to do with the attachments to the physical realm, right? Those types of things. Even in its symbol, you see, what's its symbol? Saturn's symbol is this. All right. Now, what is that? Have you had enough symbology to understand what that means?
No, but I could have a guess.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
You got a hook, so it's catchy.
Yeah, it's the sickle, the scythe.
Hmm.
All right, below planetary level. That is the Reaper card in the tarot. All right, it's the reaping below planetary level. Take something like Jupiter, for example, and you get the same thing, but above planetary level. You still have a reaping aspect to Jupiter, the side, yeah, but one is above, the other's below. Oh,
Never spotted that.
no?
Never spotted that before.
All right. How about this? First of all, do you know what planet that is?
Venus?
Venus, yeah. All right, that's Venus.
That's why I looked at you. You should know that.
Okay, now that you know that this means planetary level, right? This physical cross, the way they draw Earth is this. The way they draw the sun is this, but it used to be like this. If you go back far enough, the ancient texts, when they were demonstrating the sun, looked like that, okay? Like a jester's hat, but tilted sideways, right?
Right.
A head with a hat on it, like a jester's hat. That's how
Yeah.
they used to draw the sun. Now, they do a circle with a dot in it, And the only difference is that you're looking at it this way versus looking at it this way. It's either coming towards you, yeah, in time, or you're outside observing it through time.
Yeah.
Same thing. Okay. But this is Venus. What does it mean? What is sitting above planetary level? You see the planetary level here?
Camera's gone daft.
Huh?
The camera went daft for a second.
Oh, really?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this symbol, the plus, the cross, physical cross means planetary level. Us here, ours, okay? What's this above it? Can you see that this is this that's become separated?
Oh.
Huh? The planet has become separated from something. Right? The planet has become separated from the Father, the Son. Now, Venus has to do with love. You see? Venus having to do with love. It's that separation that draws the two back together, right? To become the planetary aspect. That's all it's showing. It's just showing that two things have been removed from one another and need to recombine. Mars. That's its current symbol, but Mars used to be drawn like this. The exact opposite of Venus. What does that mean? This has to do with two different levels of the same thing. You see it. It literally, it's the Venus symbol flipped upside down is the old one. Old symbol for Mars. Now.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Now, it's a shield and a sword. Okay. This is the modern one is a shield with a sword. Okay. The god Mars was the warrior aspect to it. Obviously, when that came over, it changed the idea of what masculinity is. Masculinity has that almost inversion, right, of Venus, but masculinity has the idea of being a solar entity subject to the planet. You see with the cross above and the circle below. Right? It should
Which
still
would
be.
make more sense.
Yeah, right.
Because
That's the difference,
the
like I
male
said.
and female, these symbologies should be the same but reversed.
Yeah, right. You would call this love, and you would call this honor or courage or protection, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the frequency that goes with it. But when it degenerated into a shield with a sword, then it's just war.
What caused the change?
Rome
Again.
connected to the essence of it, but Rome connected to the essence of it and used it as the force behind their military operations. That's when you first see it showing up in, as the shield and sword. It was in the Roman Empire.
Yeah.
How they use the frequency of it, yeah, instead of using it the way that it was intended to be. You understand the difference, right? The masculine qualities versus the feminine qualities. They're exact opposites to one another. Yeah. At least at planetary level they are. Same thing elsewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to take it a bit further back and thinking, okay, so that's where it manifested, but what caused that change to happen?
Wrong manufacture. Too much Saturn gets in, and it alters everything. Right now you're going back to these kind of negative aspects, aren't you?
Not so much looking for the negative, but looking for what actually happened. to cause the change? Was it an influence coming from outside the planet that was teaching humanity things that it shouldn't have been taught?
Ooh. Okay, first of all, humanity actually can humanity shouldn't be taught anything, but humans can be taught things.
Can you go into
Again,
that bit? Yeah.
humanity as a whole should basically not be taught anything.
As a collective.
Yeah, as a collective.
Right.
Individual humans, depending on their assemblies, can be taught things.
Yes.
Depending on their assemblies.
Yeah, that makes sense, because if you try to teach something to somebody who hasn't got the assembly to handle it,
Yeah.
it's not going to do them a great deal of good.
Let's take symbology from Egypt, for example. Let me think about what the other one that goes with this is. Okay. By the way, Egyptian is always, here's the rules with Egyptian. If there, I'm talking about hieroglyphic Egyptian, if there is a human or an animal figure in it, like for example, you see an ibis or a stylized baboon or whatever, or a person, standing in one of the hieroglyphs, that's where you start. So if there's like the person sitting here or the baboon symbol here, you would start there and read this way. If you don't get those kind of indicators, then you start right to left and you read top to bottom. So it's kind of, it can reverse the order depending on which symbols are in it. All right. And it can mean something different. If the human symbol is over here, it's something different than if it's over here. But what's this? Everyone knows this one, whether you've studied Egyptian hieroglyphs or not.
Come on, mate, I've told you enough.
I'm not sure. Can't remember.
Is it the Ankh?
It's the Ankh, yeah, right. Symbol for life, depending on how you hold it. Right,
Yeah.
held this direction, it's like that. It's a positive charge for life. Okay, what does this look like to you?
Looks a bit like a teardrop being captured in
Yeah.
court.
What would that mean to Egypt, though?
Something coming in.
Hmm?
Yeah.
Specifically, water being collected.
Yeah.
Unless the Nile floods, it's a very dry, arid area.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very. Yeah.
Yeah. So this has to do with collecting one of the most valuable things that they had. I'm just talking on a physical level at this point, but being able to collect and store water in something. What's the crook? This symbol.
That can be used for protection and gathering. It's the origin of the shepherd's crook too, with your stray animals to rescue them. So that would be to do with, I'm just trying to think of the word. Yeah, I'm trying to think of a word other than gathering, but I can't get to it at the moment.
All right, I'll leave it to puzzle. Okay.
Yeah.
But a hint is that this has to do with like well wishing for somebody. Okay.
Yeah.
It's technically it's a sigil. Yeah.
Yeah.
or prosperity on 3 levels.
Prosperity.
Yeah, long life, health.
And he's not giving the third one.
Huh? Yeah, I'm not going to
You're
give it
not
away.
giving the third one because you never give the complete answer.
It's my job. You know,
I know.
I think it's probably best to say my job is to cause in you the right kinds of questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Not to answer anything, but to cause the right kind of questioning that's going to take you somewhere. Yeah. Now, I mean, I don't know why I veered off onto this. It's not exactly alchemical, but it is. It's very much related. Doesn't this look a lot like what became Venus, by the way?
Yeah.
Symbol for Venus. All you got to do is move the cross down a little bit, and you've got it, or invert it, and you've got the original symbol for Mars. Yeah. This is the disengagement, okay? I'm not going to go into any particular planetary influence, but it should be a hint that we literally can only do 1 per week of those 7 planetary influences. So your next 7 weeks are going to be incredibly planetary, all right? You're going to know how, by the end of the 7 weeks, for example, to pull in a Martian influence if you need it, if you need to bring more action into a situation, into your life. Yeah. If you need to harvest old habits, get rid of them, sort of thing. You'll know how to pull in a Saturnian influence. Yeah. Why do you suppose the sun would be attributed to laziness?
Well, it's one of the things that it can cause in people. You know, if you go to the beach, what do people do? They just
Or conk out.
knock out. Yeah.
Something.
Well, that's what it is. It's
Yeah.
sunbathing,
Maybe, yeah.
isn't it? Yeah.
You know,
I resist going into things like saying, "Oh, it's gold in nature" and stuff like that. I'm just trying to stick it to the practical.
yeah,
What
definitely.
is it? Yeah.
I have a curiosity for you. Might challenge some beliefs, okay? Or assumptions, not beliefs. Better to say assumptions. But you've probably heard it said that Christianity is a silver religion. Have you heard that said?
Yeah.
And yet, if you take into account all of the symbology that surrounds it, such as the birth of the new sun, S-U-N, not S-O-N, but combined with the birth of the S-O-N, right? Sun, having to do with a solar rebirth. If you take into consideration the 12 apostles having to do with the 12 astrological signs, if you take into consideration all of the astrological components that come into it, like what Bethlehem, right? For example, isn't that house of bread?
Yeah.
And which one is that in the zodiac? You know?
Don't know. No.
Well, okay, we'll get there then.
Okay.
But in any event, strikes me as very solar.
Yeah.
Strikes me as very gold, actually. It has to do with the inner and outward nature of things. Take the essence of silver, which is lunar. What's associated with lunar? Which religion has the moon? Which name a religion that has the moon as their part of their emblemology?
Islam.
Islam. Yeah, that's silver. That's a lunar influence, right? Mount Sinai. Do you know what that is?
Yep.
Huh?
Well,
No.
come along.
It's a mountain in Sinai Peninsula.
Okay. What? Dedicated to which god?
The name that is not supposed to be pronounced. Tetragrammaton. Not that anybody knows how to pronounce it because there isn't any vowel pointing.
Ah, no, not that one. And we do actually now know how to pronounce it. There's been
Oh, do?
recent discoveries, and it's
Okay.
closer to Yehovah. But regardless, it was
Yeah.
the god Sin, Sin, lunar god. Sinai is the mountain dedicated to the god Sin. All right, lunar god.
Yeah.
Canaanite religion. Hmm?
Yeah.
Hmm. Here's what I'm doing today. I'm just bringing in things, okay? Don't mind it. You don't even have to. You don't even have to write it down if you don't want to. Okay?
Yeah.
Just yeah. Perhaps what you'll realize is just how vast this work can be. If you get stuck on a path of something, all the things that you can then discover begin to unlock and unravel these wonderful mysteries. You know? The one thing I really, really enjoy about this work is how things tie together so well. Yeah. Have you found that to be the case?
Yeah.
Right? Like we did the last week, we did the thing with the planets, and all of a sudden the hidden lines of the Enneagram show up.
Yep.
In it, right? What more confirmation do you need that it's all connected?
Yeah.
It's very once you get the grasp of it. I kind of feel like what you're looking at is the weave of the fabric of the universe itself, as opposed to just individual threads. Have you found it to be that way, or are you still looking at threads, seeing the trees for the forest?
Yeah, I'm starting to see that it's connected.
Hmm.
Yeah,
How it all weaves together.
yeah, I'm starting to see that.
Yeah.
It's really interesting and fascinating.
The hard part for me is going back in time for you all and working through assumptions and things that were taught but never founded, never had a foundation to it, right? Because that's important. I mean, you can, well, okay, for example, in the journey, it says it's giving the book The Journey, right? You know it? Okay. Yeah. In examples of the law of two, it's got like hot, cold, day, night, north, south, right? All of these sorts of things. Then it goes yellow, crow. What? Can you explain that? Right? Have you seen it? Do you know what I'm talking about? NZ, I realize you haven't. It's okay. I can
No, I don't remember seeing it.
send you a copy. Do you have it local? Do you have it handy?
Hang on. Let's have a look. Are we talking Journey 1 or Journey 2?
I don't know. Whichever one that it talks about the 7 levels of the law of two, I think.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
Yes. That's my answer.
All right, where is it? What have you done with it?
Should
You've
be
probably
up-
got it stashed upstairs.
It should be up there.
It's all right. It's all right. Yeah. If it's upstairs, don't worry about it.
No, it's
But
not. It should be on the shelf.
I can't see it.
regardless,
I can see it. It's on the shelf here. Oh, hang on. There's Journey 1. Have it shifted through that one. I'll try to find Journey 2. Yeah.
it's all right, Mark.
Okay, I'll come back.
Come back.
Back.
Hey,
back.
I found it.
Oh, you found it. Okay. Right.
Right.
Oh yeah, here.
Oh, so
Yellow crows.
oh yeah.
Yeah. No, I've never seen that. I remember seeing that. Gosh. Yeah.
Well, that was a 20-year question I had. Right? What the hell? The opposite of crows is yellow? What does that mean? Right? Can you solve it?
I was gonna say something. If you've had 20 years, we need a 20 years to come back to it.
Right. We'll get back to this in 20 years. Listen,
Hopefully sooner, yeah.
it has to do with planetary influences, okay? I'll give you half of the equation and you'll discover the other half in the next 7 weeks. Does that sound reasonable? I'll save you
Sounds
10
good.
years. I'll save
Okay.
you 20 years, okay? But yeah, crows have to do with the planet Saturn. Now, there's alchemical knowledge hidden in that archive that's just kind of brushed over. You see, of course, up, down, right, left, yellow crow. Yeah, as though it's completely obvious. It's a hint. It's a hint of where you should look, or at the very least, it's a hint that not necessarily even where you should look, but well, first of all, it's a hint that there's more being said than what meets the eye.
Yeah.
Those writings, all of them, are absolutely littered with it. Yeah, I showed an example of where the Philokalia was mentioned at one point in time.
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
Yeah. This is a reference to alchemy, or the works of planetary influences. Actually, not alchemy necessarily. They're all over the place. Do you know how to look at esoteric art?
Probably not.
You don't usually look for what's there. You look for what's missing. You look for what doesn't fit or what's missing. You know, sometimes you'll see paintings that are trying to reveal a secret. A lot of them around the Renaissance period, where you've got an arm that doesn't belong to anybody, right? You know that
Yeah.
one, yeah. If you who does that arm belong to? Yeah. You've got 4 or 6 fingers on one hand. You have people floating, right? You don't realize that they're floating. Take La Primavera, for example. It's look at their feet on La Primavera, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Okay, it's like they're not all standing on the same ground, for example. Yeah, but you look for what doesn't fit. You look for what doesn't belong in there, and that's usually a clue. Same thing in that archive that you're looking at there. It doesn't fit. It doesn't belong. It's accurate, by the way, but it doesn't belong. Yeah. It's hermetically sealed from the standpoint of, if you just gloss over it, you'll never know it's there. Yeah? If you're looking for oddities and absurdities and things that don't fit, it jumps out at you. Yeah? Took me 20 years to solve it. Yeah. But you know what? Huh?
Yeah.
I will say 20 years well spent.
Yeah.
Trying to solve it. And it wasn't a waste of my time, that's for sure. Yeah. But Mark, go ahead.
White and red.
Yeah.
You'd expect white and black and
Sure you would. That's an easy one though. That's the blood. That's the blood system. White and red blood cells.
Right.
It's also to do with the Roman army. Their colors and their use and subsequent misuse of martial power.
Yeah.
Yeah, red and white associated with the Roman army. Yeah, good. Okay. Now, that's how you should be looking at those documents or anything, right? Enzi, I know you don't have those, but you can always, look at things like Renaissance art, for example, and begin to look for anomalies.
Yeah.
Hannah, did you have any questions from last week?
It was just one. Last week you mentioned about with the herbs, touching and smelling them, but you didn't mention about taste with the sweet, sour, bitter.
Yeah, sure. Do that too.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And sweet, sour, bitter, acrid. those, those types of things obviously go to the 4 elements, don't they?
Yeah.
Piquant, salty. That's an easy one.
Yeah.
Bitter. It's pretty easy, isn't it? That's fire. If you don't believe me, just take a piece of burnt charcoal after you're done on the grill and put it in your mouth, and bitter. Yeah.
Well, we're making progress with these tinctures. The jars bought, the herbs are due to arrive next week,
All right.
and won't let me get vodka until it's arrived. So it's still here.
She's saving you a trip back to the liquor store.
No, I know. It's not fair, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Good. Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Out of curiosity, what herbs did y'all choose?
I choose oregano.
Kind of figured you would.
You chose basil. No, I chose basil, and then you wanted it. So I then chose rosemary.
Rosemary. Interesting. Huh. And Sam, you chose basil?
Yes.
Okay. And Z, did you choose an herb yet?
Yeah, I mean, it's not exactly an herb. I chose bay leaf, but it's
Bay
also,
leaf?
yeah.
Okay, good. Works for me. I mean, here at this house, Pleiades said, let's go pick a bunch of dandelions. They work too.
Yeah.
Right? And they're all over the yard, much to my chagrin.
Yeah, we've got them here as well.
They're everywhere. Yeah, easy.
Great fun. Cigarette lighter. When they go to seed, cigarette lighter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
your own little backyard
So-
fireworks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you excited?
Yeah.
This is such wonderful stuff. It really is. So much fun. Because you're actually doing something with it. You see,
Yeah.
it's not just sitting down and reading something. I mean, you've got mason jars and you've got things in them, and you get to make a couple trips to the liquor store because the herbs didn't come and you drank the vodka and you have to go back. Right? Good fun. You're doing something with it.
I'm not allowed to go to the book to get more than one.
I mean, that's what's so great about something like electrobics, isn't it? Right? You're actually doing it, aren't you? You're doing electrobics when you're doing it.
Yeah.
I prefer that method. I prefer being able to actually, well, what did I say? Do what you know.
Yeah.
And if you don't know it, try to do it, and then you'll see what you don't know. Sounds like a fair proposition to me. I mean, do you know symbols, not just those types of things, but do you know symbols, right, that go with how to pull a certain atmosphere in? I know some of you know this one.
Yeah.
Some of you know this one, right, having to do with silver and gold. Okay. Do you know what that one was, though, that I just did?
As a
Use your
guess,
detection. Huh? Use your detection.
yellow.
Interesting. Okay. Yellow to do with which planetary influence did I just pull in?
You're a science bod.
No.
See, here's the problem, though.
Mm.
Any effort you make now will either be highly intuitive or complete guesswork, right? Because you need the connections to those planets.
Yeah.
You need to be able to have those connections to the planets and understand their actual personality. Right? I don't mean personality in the sense of false personality that humans get, but they have a nature. They have a frequency. You can taste them, you can smell them. You know their sound. You know what it feels like in the room. Atmospherics, you know it's atmospherics. You know the intelligence that goes with it. You know the intelligence that goes with it, right? And so once you have those kinds of connections, you should be able to watch me, right, do that and go, oh, I know what that is, right? Never seen it before, but I know what that's going to do. Would you like that? Would you like to be able to do that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thought so. Hmm. Why? I think that's a good question. Why do you want to know that? I got chalk in my coffee. Oh. It's
Rubbing
not
it.
esoteric, okay?
Yeah.
It's just dust. What did he mean? Right? I could just see it like next week, Hannah sitting there, you know. Pierce, last week you said, I've got chalk in my coffee, and we want to know what you meant by that.
It doesn't taste very nice. I've been trying it. Yeah.
Planetary influence was that?
It's a sort of daft thing that
It
you're
is,
doing it. Yeah. You're dodging the question.
Yeah. Why? Why do you want to know? Why do you want to know how to do those things? By the way, if you had to guess, what would you have guessed?
Saturn.
Huh?
Saturn?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
Why
good
do
job.
you not always get it right?
I don't always get it right.
I was paying you a compliment. Yeah.
Why do you want to know this, though? Right? Because let's elevate this out of intellectualism. I once did we had a hall here once, right before the pandemic and before everything. We had a hall. I was doing like working with people and stuff like that, right? And was doing a public open meeting, I guess is what you might call that. And this kid shows up, college student, bright, and everything that comes out of my mouth, right? I'm giving a live lesson, like actual live lesson. And he's like, that sounds like Aristotle, and oh, that sounds like Descartes, and that sounds like all what he was doing was just taking bits of philosophy, right? Bits and pieces of philosophy that he had learned about, presumably in college. I think he was actually a philosophy major. Right? But yeah, and he was categorizing the lesson as to not to the influences at play in the lesson, but to the page of the encyclopedia of philosophy that he could refer to mentally in there. Now, is that going to get you any kind of development? Probably not. Yeah, it's going to be a Mercurian problem if you let it, gluttony of the mind, but it's not going to get you any kind of development. So make sure when you approach this work that you do have clear in yourselves what the reasons are for it, please. Yeah. And if you don't want to know it, it's okay too. Yeah, for some people, that scares them. It does. The idea that you can bring Saturn, you can bring the influence of Saturn into a room. And trust me when I say that when you get to that point, which is not too far in the future, I'm talking weeks, when you get to that point and you feel it, it might startle you a little bit. So be prepared for that. Yeah. For me, they're old friends. I've been doing it for a long time, but the first time it happens for you, or if you pull in an elemental and it really shows up, yeah, and it's palpable and real and things change, yeah, are you prepared, I guess? So try not to be surprised.
Yeah.
And the way to not be surprised is to have clear in yourself the reason why you want it. Yeah. Oh man, I mean, can you imagine if you came at this intellectually and just wanted to understand the theory, and then an actual griffin showed up in your atmosphere, you'd never touch this work again, would you?
I'll be straight on to Facebook Messenger and say, yes, there's a griffin in the house.
Yeah. Help! There's a griffin, right? What do I do with that?
Yeah.
Well, go put it on your roof. They like it.
Yeah.
Take it down to the church, stick it on their roof. They like them.
Yeah, because we've got a friend whose electrical vision switched on, but he was terrified.
Who?
Absolutely terrified.
I didn't catch the first part of that.
Yeah, we've got a friend whose electrical vision switched on, and yeah, he phoned us up and spoke to Mark, but he was absolutely terrified.
Yeah, it was spinning things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Spinning
But
things?
Yeah.
And yeah, he was convinced it was out to kill him. But I can understand if you're not expecting something like that, it could be really frightening.
Again, that goes back to assemblies, though, of why you're doing what you're doing. I think it's this is probably good that this is showing up right now to emphasize this aspect, because things really will get very real for you. Okay, if you do this work that we're putting on the table here, you're going to have some experiences that you weren't expecting. So be clear in yourself as to why. Yeah. And be honest too. If it's really just intellectual curiosity, you might want to admit that to your faculties. Yeah. Listen, here's the thing, right? How do I put this? Sometimes you don't know if something is real and genuine until after the fact. Right? So it's okay to go, you know what? I don't know if this guy Pierce has anything to show me or not, has anything to teach me or not. Right? I don't know if this work is real or not. I'm going to give it a try. I'm going to give it an honest try. And if these things start to happen, then I'll believe it. Okay, I think that sounds fair. That's reasonable, actually. Quite reasonable.
Yeah. You see, for me, it's hard to actually give a definitive reason for wanting to do this, to be able to connect to these things. And I could come out with the age-old cliche of personal development. That's what the human's supposed to be able to do, stuff like that. But until being able to do it, you don't know what the potential of what you use it beneficially for.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's the initial response of, well, that's what we are here to do, potentially.
But if you don't even know that, right? Is that a certainty?
For me, yeah, because of the things that I've had in my life already.
Yeah, good.
Yeah,
okay. I like that answer because it's coming from you.
Yeah.
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 I will say a lot of humans are not here to develop. They're just not there.
Okay.
Is that okay with you? Seems to yeah, that
no, it's trying
that was
to
like
work.
petting a cat backwards. I just got the sensation of petting a cat backwards, and you're the cat.
The tail goes up and the ears go back. Yeah. And the cat's sitting there, it's thinking, okay, which bit do I bite first?
Yeah.
No, I think it's from the point of view that at some stage, it seems right that humans should be able to have the, oh God, this is going to set off a few people, the right to be able to progress.
Hmm.
Now, it might take a few times round or a few hundred times round
Hmm.
for a person to have that turn.
Yeah.
But it just seems a little bit wasteful in creation to have so many people that are just going to be stuck
Yeah.
for all eternity.
Let me ask you a question. Where are the Plato's, Aristotle's, the Michelangelos, the Beethovens, the Mozarts? Where are those people today?
Good question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you look around on YouTube or whatever, and you don't find any of them.
Yeah.
Not saying Aristotle needs to be on YouTube. What I'm saying is like someone of that caliber.
Yeah.
Hmm?
Yeah.
It has to do with this triangle. Okay.
Yeah.
Back in time, I'll do the triangle as the tip here with my arms representing the rest of it. Okay. Back in time when there was just this many humans, they were more potent. So you're going to get more of those. This is starting to look like, you know, the eye in the pyramid. But you got more potency back then. Now we've got what, 9 billion people? The potency is so low.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Potency is so low now. It's very difficult for one of those to show up on the planet nowadays because enough has to be collected to make it happen.
Yeah.
Where are you going to get it? This goes back to bee influences, doesn't it? The only way you can become that kind of potency is to go collecting bee influences like a bee, bzz, that kind of bee, collecting bee influences, collecting nectar from the various esoteric flowers out there and making honey out of it. Yeah. By the way, everywhere you see this work, you'll see bees. Okay, I'm not talking about bzz bees, but in this symbology, wherever there was a way, when it showed up on the planet, one of its symbols is the bee. So you see it in Egypt. They have these hieroglyphs of bees. You see it in Zoroastrianism, although they were, I believe, forbidden to eat honey, oddly enough. You see it in Napoleon's regalia. Everywhere. Okay. It's a little hint for you. Everywhere that the way shows up, one of the symbols that it deposits into the human endeavor is the bee. Boy, we're all over the place today.
Yeah.
Did you know there was so much about this?
Yeah.
It's like, the enormity of
It's,
it.
as you say, it's that weave. It goes all over the place.
Yeah. This also is the reason why there cannot be exclusivity to the way, because it's its own thing. Yeah. The best you can hope for is two things. Get on the frequency of it, and as a side effect, you enjoy evolution. As a side effect, you enjoy your faculties switching on. You enjoy being in the presence of great knowledge, great knowings, great learnings, things that have never been spoken on the planet before. All right. But that's kind of, it's ancillary to it. The point is to get on the frequency of it so that all those things can happen, you see. But the point is to get on the frequency of it.
Yeah.
That's it. Can't own the way. Anyone who tells you different is selling something, right?
Yep.
You just got to get on the frequency of it. All of you can do it, by the way, because that is what your human faculties were designed to be able to do. And besides, you do it anyway, you just don't realize it, right? If you get caught up in something culturally, then you tuned into it. Get angry, you tuned into that. You get greedy, you tuned into that. You get way, it's because you tuned into it, right? That's what humans are like, big radios. Man. The real work of the matter is not, it's, here's a great way to say it. The radio doesn't take credit for what it plays.
No, it just does it. Yeah.
It just does it, right? And if you don't like the music, change the station until you do. You see, that's all there is to it. But the radio itself shouldn't take any credit for it. Like, oh, wow, boy, did I play that song well. What it could take credit for is having a nice narrow frequency that it can tune into.
Yeah.
Right? Get these old kind of radios with the tubes. Before transistors and whatnot, they were a bit wideband. The idea of wideband versus narrowband. Narrowband means it can tune into something very distinctly. Okay, wideband means that it's kind of like it tunes into everything around it with a peak here and catches all this. And so what you get there is static. In a wideband reception, you get all the noise, the signal, but all the noise around it. Works just like that in this way. As you begin to learn to tune into things, you're going to get a lot of static, but you'll also get the signal. And as you do some personal development work, you begin to narrow out that static so that you can tune right into that signal. It's just an analogy, but I think it's a pretty apt one. But yeah, again, the radio doesn't have to take credit; it just has to be good at it.
Yeah.
Has to have a good narrow band, pick up on it. All right. Are you excited for the next 7 weeks?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we'll probably begin with Saturn.
Yeah.
Okay, just because it showed up a lot today, so maybe it wants to make an appearance. But yeah, let's get into it. Yeah, be able to do something. I don't know. I think in the scheme of things, it's not what you know, it's what you can do. You have to learn to get there, but yeah, it's what you can do with it. So, all right, are we good? Do you want to prolong it or?
Yeah, you can go on. Yeah.
Yeah.
You look like you're about to crash out.
Yeah.
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 So
I'll be fine.
okay.
Well, what do you want to go on about then? I got you excited. That's that's what I came here to do.
What is it that has caught you?
Oh gosh, everything. Wow.
Yeah.
I'm just in awe. I can't wait.
Yeah.
Excited, yeah. Yeah. the whole
I
thing.
mean, didn't you ever wonder, right, where the archives came from? When Leo would talk, if you saw Leo work, right, what the things that he could do in a room, the things that he could do in his life, wouldn't you want to know that? How to do that? Now here comes the fear, though. Would I, though? Right? There is that question. Would I? I guess we'll see. But yeah, it is, Hannah. It is awe-inspiring. It really is. It's just like, for example, the first time you pop out of your body in astral travel, you now know that death is not a big, scary, mean thing. That's really useful knowledge to have, actually.
Yes, it would be. Yeah.
Very useful knowledge to have, because then what it does is it gives you freedom. I think someone did once ask me, like, what's the point? What's the point of astral traveling? Well, it really depends on what you want to do with it. I mean, I've had some really profound experiences doing such things, but I think the point is you get a better idea of what reality is like. I mean, you want to talk about Saturn and having to do with the material world. Yeah, the symbol for Saturn that we drew is that kind of sickle there. Part of the work, the work to overcome the Saturn in your life, is to see through the material things.
Yes.
Yeah. And how are you going to do that if you don't know what's on the other side? And if you don't know what's on the other side, you might as well just collect money and cars and houses and whatever. If you don't know what's on the other side, maybe it's just a game of Monopoly. You think so? I know you all don't think so. Otherwise, you wouldn't be sitting here. But yeah, I mean, that's what the world kind of thinks, because they don't have the technology to do it, to see through the veil, pierce the veil, right? My own namesake. Do you know what I'm talking about? Percival, one of the knights of the Round Table, his name meant to pierce the veil, rend the curtain, peek through the other side. That's where my name comes from in this work. All right, that's what I try and do. And if you didn't know, now you do.
Yeah.
So you asked me to stay. What do you want?
I don't know now. After that little run, it was causing so many things in me to think about, to want to ask questions about, but thinking, no, just run with it.
Sometimes it's fun to just be in the wash of it, right?
Yeah.
This work is so beautiful. There's just so many
Yeah.
beautiful things in it.
Yeah.
There's so much love actually in this work. I don't know if you knew that until now, but there is so much love in it.
Yeah.
Do you love the work? Do you love the way?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. I love you all actually also. Look at all the men are like, I can't say I love you too, Pierce. Just can't do it. So
I just about stretched in an email once.
As long as we're in proximity, we can also have a arm wrestling match afterwards, then it's okay to say it, right? But you just can't say it over video, right? Like, I love you, and then we punch each other in the face. Is that the man thing to do? Yeah, that's what we got to do. Okay. Good to know.
I think it's a strange American custom. Yeah. Yes. It's not a British thing. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know, we all ride horses and carry 6-shooters on our waist anyway. That's what
Seen that picture. Yeah.
that's what some cultures think of America, especially when I tell people I live in Colorado. They think I'm always up to my eyeballs in snow. And when I'm not, I'm out riding my horse and, you know, tying it up outside the saloon and playing poker and getting into a gunfight. It's the idea.
You got the whiskey.
What happens here? Yeah, whiskey, of course. Yeah. It's almost a given, right? We don't even fill our canteens with water. It's whiskey. It's funny. You know, I mean, it's like you British, just sitting around eating crumpets and tea all day. I think that's what people think.
You bought crumpets this morning, didn't you?
Yeah.
So it's right. So it's true. Okay. Oh, good. All right. Listen, let's go ahead and cut it short. Okay. Or not short, but I think we've had a great run. I hope you're excited about what's to come. I know I am. And yeah, just let yourself be open. Okay. Over the next week. You don't have to drill at anything really hard. I didn't come with an agenda. I didn't come with like, you know, let's make sure they understand this bit. That'll happen next week. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thanks. Thank you all so much. Happy Mother's Day.
No, when
We had it in March.
Oh, did you? Oh,
yeah.
So that was
weird.
yeah,
Okay. Well,
Sunday March, I think it was.
I think the Father's Day over here in the States corresponds, but
okay.
Mother's Days are on different days.
Ah, interesting. Well,
That is interesting. Yeah.
yeah. March. Yeah, I can see that actually. I mean, it should be in March, not May. It should be in March, not May, right? I mean, it comes from the celebration primarily of the planet opening up and, you know, the mother aspect of the planet, the emergence of spring, right? That new birth that begins to happen. That's the origin of it. And, you know, and, you know, happy Mother's Day to you too, Mom, right? But they were celebrating the planet's Mother's Day. That's a correspondence.
Yeah.
Right? So you say that, and then our culture shifted, and you know, it's about the mother because they didn't realize that the planet is a mother also. So poor old lady hasn't got a Mother's Day card in probably tens of thousands of years. thousands of years anyway.
No,
All right.
yeah.
Thank you all so much. We'll see you not tomorrow, but see you next week. Okay.
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 All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
Thanks for today. Bye.